So let me encourage you to turn in your Bibles, if you've not done so already, James chapter 1, verses 23 through 25. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he's like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror. For he looks at himself and goes away and at once forgets what he was like. But when the one who looks into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres, being no hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts, he will be blessed by his doing. Amen and amen.
Today I'll be sharing a message entitled, Faith is Active, as we look at the parable of the talents, which is found in Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 through 28. So if you could begin to turn to that in the New Testament, we'll build a little background behind this passage before we get started. In this passage, we'll see the last several years of Jesus' ministry, he began to teach in a form of storytelling called parables. And the word parable means to come alongside. And so Jesus came alongside those who could understand what he was teaching, to teach them deeper truths. And those who could not understand these things, it would only seem like any one of the many common Eastern teachings of wisdom that was perhaps taught by many of the rabbis in Judaism. What's that? Oh, sorry, kids. Kids all head back to children's church? You mixed up the tables and that just changed everything for me. I figured the kids need to hear this too, right? All right. So, many of the people thought that he was just teaching one of the many parables, one of the many stories that were taught by many of the rabbis, many of the Jewish teachers, but he was imparting deeper truths. And at the same time, the Pharisees were seeking to kill him. So it was very important how he approached his teachings. The time had not yet come. And so this confused even his own disciples. The disciples came to him and asked, "Why do you speak to the people in parables?" He replied, "Because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. Whoever has will be given more, and they will have abundance. And whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken away from them." This is why I speak in parables. Though seeing they do not see, though hearing they do not hear or understand, in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes and hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, turn, and I would heal them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. For truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. So to clarify the overall meaning of this passage as Jesus was teaching this parable, let me sum it up in one clear sentence. The Bible tells those of us who have faith in Jesus Christ, we should be actively preparing for Christ's return by being productive with everything that he has entrusted to us. Let's open up the passage and take a look at it. Starting in 25, verse 14. And we'll be reading through the 28th verse, through the 30th verse. It says, "Again, It will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents of money, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received the 5 talents went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one with the 2 talents gained 2 more. But the one who had received the 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received the 5 talents brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I've gained 5 more. His master said, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Now the man with 2 talents also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who had received the 1 talent came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your talent in the ground. See, here's what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvested where I have not sown and gathered where I have not scattered seed? Well then, you should have put my money and deposited it with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. Take the talent from him and give it to the other one who had the 10 talents. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken from him. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. It sounds pretty severe for the one servant, doesn't it? We're going to break this down and try to find out what's going on here. The Bible tells those who have faith in Jesus that we need to do something with it, doesn't he? Today I'm going to share a message of faith in action as we discuss what has been entrusted to us until Jesus returns, faith investing, being accountable to his audit, and finally identifying what God has entrusted specifically to you and how you can use it better. So let's first talk about what was entrusted until he returned. The first 2 verses of this parable, verses 14 tells us this man, he is going on a journey. And this journey is going to be a long journey. He's going to be gone a long time, because in verse 15, it tells us that he entrusts money to each of his 3 servants. And this wasn't an uncommon thing in the day. Money was often entrusted to servants when a master would go away for a long time. So this wasn't an uncommon practice of any kind. It was pretty standard for them to do this. And they entrusted all that was theirs to their servants. So you look at this story and you've got to ask yourself, who is this man and who are the servants? That's a natural question. Well, it becomes abundantly clear that the man that we're speaking about here is Jesus Christ. That's who the man is, the master that is going away. And Jesus is going to be gone a long time between his first and second coming. And he has entrusted his servants. And who are his servants? His servants are all those who profess to serve the master. But we're going to find there's many who profess who are the true servants. What is the next event that we're waiting for? Jesus Christ has been gone a long time. What is the next event we're looking for?
So many are talking about the Antichrist, but that's not the next event that we're talking about on our biblical calendar. This is an event that has absolutely no signs before it. It's the rapture. The rapture will come at a day and an hour that we're not prepared for. It will come all of a sudden. There is no pre-warning that the rapture is going to occur, and we've got to be ready. We've got to be preparing. You want to be a good and faithful servant when he returns. And so there should be an urgency because you know of his imminent return. He's told you he will come, and he will come quickly. And as you look around our culture, you know it is happening faster and faster and getting closer to that day. And so we, of all generations, should be more prepared. So let's talk about the portion that was given to each of the servants. In verse 15, we see that each of the master's servants was given a portion of talents. Now, these talents are a monetary value, and each is given differently. Not a single one of his servants in this example is given the same thing. They're all given different amounts. So let's ask ourselves the questions of what, when, where, why, and how when you're trying to figure this out. Let's figure out these portions. What is the talent that's given? What is this? Well, this is a Roman coin of great value. In fact, it's the highest denomination of coinage that could be given. So it's very valuable. And what that really signifies is Jesus giving you something very valuable. What he is using the things that they understood of value in the physical realm to parallel those things they did not understand in the spiritual realm. And in Luke 19:12 through 27, Luke tells a very similar type story about the mina, which is another coin of value. And so these are stories that are teaching us of great value that he's given to his servants. And we have to ask the next question, and that's when. When will the master return to see what we've done with what he's given us? Well, these three men, Jesus came during their lifetime. He came during their lifetime. And although Jesus Christ may or may not come during our lifetime, there will be an accounting of our lifetime. So he will bring us to account when we die. And so these men were brought to account, and we will be too. So that's the when. And you can see that in verse 19 as the master returns. Now, where will this talent be given to us? Right where we're planted. It's not about someday. I will serve him someday. I will do this someday. I will change eventually. I will serve him. He's going to be asking you when. Because he expects you to serve right where you're planted and to do it now, not in delay. Delay is disobedience. And why? Why is it important? It's because it was important to the master. He's given us these things of great value because it's very, very important to him. So he's portioned these to each of us, and we're supposed to do something with them. We're supposed to do them according to his will, to use what he's given us. And how? By being active in our faith, not just by saying we believe, but putting our belief into action. And so verse 15 tells us that we were given different portions, and this Roman coin, a talent, is a very expensive coin. Let me show you how expensive this is so you can get an idea of the value that this master is putting into the hands of his servants. A talent is worth 6,000 denarii. And a denarii is the very simplest level. It's a daily salary for most people in that day, a denarii. And so 6,000 days it would take to make a talent. That is a lot. That's approximately 20 years to save that amount. That is a lot of money. So what Jesus is saying, I am entrusting all of this to you, this of great, great value that you could not just earn easily. I'm handing this to you, and I expect that you're going to do great things with it. In fact, I expect that you're going to increase with what I've given you, not just let it sit there in the ground like the unfaithful servant. So I want you to invest in my kingdom. I've entrusted this to you. And so he's given them great assets. And these are great value. And they belong to who? Not to you. They belong to him. It's only because of him that you have them. Now, what are these things? Your abilities, your incredible personality, your gifts that he's given, your spiritual gifts, so many things, your possessions, your home, your car, everything that you have is because he gave it to you. Use it for his glory. And so he expects a lot, doesn't he? Because he gave you a lot. And so there's investments that that should be made. And when you make an investment, what do you expect? To gain appreciation from those investments, right? You expect them to grow. You expect them to be used properly. Now, an investor that gets more from what he put in is seen as a good appreciation, but if an investment is made that loses money or it never changes, it's considered a bad investment. When Jesus looks at each of us, as he's seeing all that he's given us and says, wow, that was a bad investment, or wow, that was a good investment. Now, he knew you were capable. He wants you to start investing. And so we were given, each of us was given a certain amount of talents. And I don't want you to think of this just as the monetary value, but I want you to think of it as things of great value, anything that you have of great value. And he's given you it because of the next area that I want to talk to you about, and that's your capability. Each of us is capable of different things, very unique things. He's made you very unique, and he has not given everybody the same amount, but he's given you exactly what you can use to its full extent. It's not a comparative type thing. Jesus isn't comparing and saying, well, this person earned more than that person, and you need to be at this level. No, he's saying, what did you use for my glory? And did you use it to all you could? Or did you just sort of, kind of every Thursday use it? He's saying, I want you to use it every day, and I want you to really invest. I want you to really put it in something that's going to gain for my kingdom. And so there are so many things. All of your strengths, even your youth, all of the things you have, you can use. Use it. And he hasn't given you just a few things, has he? In this country, we're just more than blessed. He's given us so many things, the tangibles and intangibles. There's so much we could use for his kingdom. Question is, are you using them? So let's talk about faith investing. Faith investing. There was two servants that did this well. And to kind of give an example of investing, I want you to imagine a farmer. When a farmer plants, he expects more than just a little green thing to pop out of the soil. He wants it to continue to grow, doesn't he? He wants it to grow and to get strong, and he wants it to get big. And some of those, he wants it to create shade. He wants to have substantial size. And he expects that it's going to produce an abundant harvest. Wouldn't you be disappointed if you planted something and never produced anything? Have you been like that in your garden before? And you put so much time into it, you watered it, you fed it, every day you checked on it, and the plant produced nothing? Wasn't it really frustrating for you? Wasn't it disappointing? You had expectations. Jesus also has absolutely huge expectations from all of us. He wants all of us to be producing, but not to stop producing, but to continue to produce over and over again, year after year. These are the evidences of the Holy Spirit at work in our lives, but even more so, our response to the Holy Spirit in our lives. The Holy Spirit can be there and you can be dormant. That's not what's intended. Instead, you should be alive, like the small plant that's growing. You should be alive and growing. You should see life there. That is evidence of Christ working in your life and changing you from something that just started as a seed and became much, much more. Because that seed is planted. It's planted in your life. The seed, the Holy Spirit, it's planted in you, and you should begin to nurture it. So we look at these two men, and they were faithful. What did they do? Look at verse 16 and 17. What did the first and second man do? It says they went at once and put their talents to work. That's what Jesus wants us to do. He wants you to come out of church today and it not to be like any other day at church. He wants Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of next week to be super productive. He wants you to begin to grow and to make that super productive. And he doesn't want delay. He doesn't want detour. No excuses. He wants action. Now, action won't save us, but it does show that the Holy Spirit is at work in our hearts. It does show that we're being transformed, that we're going through that sanctifying experience, that we are becoming Christ-like. That's what he wants us to do. And each of us will grow at our different rates, and that's okay. But the more you put into it, you know that, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. Now, the one unfaithful man, he didn't put much into it at all. Verse 18 says, he dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. Now, this wasn't an uncommon way to protect valuables. It was valuable, and he didn't want anybody to steal it. But it wasn't what he was commanded to do. He went and he hid it in the ground. No master would have given him that for that reason, just to put it in the ground. He could have put it in the ground himself. But Jesus is really saying, I've given you something of great worth. I gave you my very life. Wasn't that a great value? Yet you did nothing with it. Think about it. Everyone who's rejected Jesus Christ over and over again, he's saying, I'm giving you this great gift. Take it. Take it. I hope every single one of you wants to take hold of that great, great gift of value. Because he wants you to have it, and he wants you to use it, and he wants you to be changed by it, and he wants his kingdom to be changed by you using it, so that you might affect other people's lives. It's not just about you, is it? It's much bigger than that. It's his entire kingdom. And so this man did absolutely nothing. So we've got to ask ourselves, is this man a believer? Well, if you took a look at the final verse in this chapter, verse 30, there is a clear picture of hell here. A clear picture of hell. So this passage isn't specifically about us as believers necessarily using all of our gifts here at the end, is it? It's also talking about the one who was given the opportunity to have it but never took it, and what the penalty was for his sin. It doesn't take too much detective work to figure that one out when you look at that last verse, does it? And it's very sad for him. He had opportunity. He had everything the others did too. He just didn't use it. He didn't grab hold of it. And the Bible teaches that the wages of sin is death. It's wages that are earned. They're earned by sin. And sin wasn't originally our fault, but it's permeated every single person's life that's here today. You're born in sin. And so the result of unforgiven sin is eternal separation from Christ. And Christ says, no, I don't want to protect you from that. I want to give you an opportunity not to do that. I want to give you this gift of great value, my life. And I want you to do something with it. But you have to take action. Now, if you have not accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, what is that action? It isn't being good. It isn't being better. It's accepting him and letting him change you. That's the one thing this one unfaithful man, he missed. He buried the thing of great value. Now, we have a lifetime to decide for Christ, but we don't know when Christ will call us to heaven, does he? Do we? Or to hell, depending on your choice. We don't know when we will be called, so you should feel the immediacy right now. You should feel an urgency to make a decision. You should also feel an urgency, if you already in the faith, to live differently, because we know that there will be an accounting, and we want him to say, good and faithful servant, don't we? We want to be proud of what we've done. We want to show him that we've used what he's given us. And so this unfaithful man, he never accepted Christ's valuable sacrifice. He never received the empowering Holy Spirit. His life was never changed. He never produced fruit, and it was a sad end for him. But we are alive, and we have a different choice to make, right? We can decide today to make a different choice. So we choose life with Christ, who can overcome the power of sin, who has overcome the power of sin. These two men, they accepted Christ, and the one didn't. It's just like the one in the field and the one left behind. They were thankful for the king's, the master's gift. They saw great value in it, and they lived that value out. So let's talk about being accountable to Christ's audit. There will be an accounting. Scripture clearly tells us that. One day, Jesus will audit your life. Will you eagerly come before him, as these two men did, and say, look what I've done. I'm so happy. Or will you try to hide? Will you try to blame him or find excuses or justify? Will you try to unbury it and say, well, I've been good. It won't make a difference, will it? Good won't make a difference. He won't measure good intention. He will actually look for the plant that grew and harvested and had all its fruit. He will see whether you are truly in the faith or not. And so these servants who were faithful, they were praised. They were praised, right? They were praised for what they'd done. In verse 21 through 23, it says, well done, good and faithful servant. So they were faithful, they were praised, and then finally, they were commended, and then they were rewarded. So they were commended. Commended means to present as worthy. You see military men and women that receive commendations for what they've done, and that usually leads to promotion. They are recognized, and they receive their reward. And so the next area we're going to talk about is reward. When people are commended, they're rewarded because they didn't squander what was given to them, whether it was responsibility or whatever it may be. They didn't squander it. They used it, and they did it as best that they could. In fact, they did it better than others. They were so committed, and so they were commended. Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 3, 10 through 15, by the grace God has given me. I laid a foundation as a wise builder, and someone else is building upon it. But each one should build with care, for no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid, which is Jesus Christ. If anyone builds on this foundation using gold, silver, costly stones, wood, hay, or straw, their work will be shown for what it is, because the day will bring it to light. It will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test the quality of each person's work. If what has been built survives, the builder will receive a reward, and if it is burned up, the builder will suffer loss, but yet will be saved, even though only as one escaping through the flames. Could you imagine being the Christian that enters heaven as what I call a flame Christian? A flame Christian is one who professes belief, and he does believe, but he's never, ever done anything more than accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. And so he enters heaven with more regrets than he does eagerness to meet the Master. I don't want that to be me. I don't want that to be you. And so my job as a pastor is to encourage you to look at these two faithful men. Look how quickly they put it to work. Look how eager they were to meet the Master. Look how well the audit went. That should be all of us who believe. And if you don't believe yet, I would strongly encourage you, because the flames are very real. There should be fruit of the Holy Spirit in your life. And so we see that the one man was unfaithful. He was unfaithful. And there's two ways that you can be unfaithful. Let's get those clear. One is to not believe at all, or to believe and not use anything he's given you. Then he says to the one who doesn't believe at all, he says, worthless servant, you're a servant of mine, but you never used what I gave you. And so this servant, this unfaithful servant, he makes excuses. He justifies. In verse 24, it tells us that the man gave excuses for his behavior. But one day, every knee will bow, and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. And when we die, there'll be an accounting. And so we can't make excuses. We can no longer justify. It's going to be hard for some of us, and it's going to be a great moment for others, isn't it? A great moment. And I hope that the great moment is one that you can say that you're going to have. A great moment. We'll all have regrets, of course, but Jesus Christ has covered all of those. Those are sins. He's covered all that. You don't have to worry about that. At this point, we're talking about rewards, aren't we? If you're a believer in Christ, there's only reward. If you do not yet believe in Christ, there's only penalty. That's a sharp contrast, isn't it? A very sharp contrast. So this man, he says, I'm afraid of you to the master. I'm afraid of you. Why is he afraid of him? Because he doesn't know him. He doesn't know him. How can you be afraid of God when you know his nature? He's loving, he's kind, he's patient. He is giving you everything, including his son. How can you be afraid of him? But the unfaithful servant clearly shows he doesn't know him at all. He says things that aren't even true about him at all. He's making assumptions where he should be opening the Word of God. Verse 26, Jesus doesn't even argue his nature when he's accused. Doesn't argue his nature. He simply points out, based on that man's argument, that he said, even if I was all of these things, you should have invested the money. You should have gotten saved, even if you were afraid of me, because you know I'm real. You know I'm your creator. You know I'm your sustainer. Savior, sanctifier, healer, coming king. You know all of this. Why didn't you accept me? So he attempts to appease, and that won't work. You can't appease God. Is there anything that you can give God to get into heaven? Can you give him your wealth? No. Can you give him, I did this and I did that and I contributed to this and I gave to this charity and I did that? No, those were great things, but no, that doesn't get you there. Well, I did all these things for you. No, you missed it. You missed the point. You never accepted the talents I gave you. You never accepted that which is of most value. And so what was given to that person in that lifetime, it says, will be taken away and given to others. That's sad. That's really sad. It's given away and taken to others because they didn't use it. And so how can we avoid being that unfaithful servant as believers? Well, we want to say, I want to use what God has given me and trusted to me, that's trust placed in me, well. So what are some things that you may have? What are some things that God may have given you very specifically that you can use for his glory? What about what you've been able to earn? God has provided for you employment. He's provided you with some opportunities to advance, all these different things. He's given you intellect to do it with. He's given you abilities to do it with. He's given you spiritual gifts to do it with. And then you've also inherited things. You've inherited from your family. You've been given things that you could be using. You have all these tangible things that could be used for God's glory. Are you using them? And then he's placed you in certain places, incredible places, opportunities to share about him, to share how much you love him and what hope lies in Jesus Christ. Are you using that influence? Whether you're a celebrity, a sports hero, a pastor, anytime you have any kind of pulpit in your life, are you using it? And then he's given you gifts, and he's given you intelligence, ability, even your really cool personality to sell it with. Are you using it? God has given you that amazing you that you are so that you can share with somebody else. Somebody will have receptivity to you, and you'll be able to share Christ. Are you using it? And then, if you don't know what God has given you, ask others. Say, I can't really identify what God wants to do with me in my life, but maybe you can tell me. What do you see in me that I might be able to use for God's glory? Because I don't know that he gave me anything. So I've seen some people who think that way, that God didn't give them anything. God gave all of us something. All of us. There's different levels, but he's given all of us something. Are you using it? He's given some of us great strengths. That strength that lies within you, that passion, use it for his glory. He didn't give you that desire for whatever he's given you a desire for, that he placed deep in your heart, whether it's, let's say it's for a sport. Let's say it's for a specific type of work, or playing a specific type of instrument. Whatever he has placed within you, that strength, are you using it? Randy uses his every Sunday. It says that the faithful will be given more, and they'll constantly be given more as they show faithfulness. So where you're planted, grow. That's the message. Grow, put it into action. Faith that's not put into action is useless. As Pastor Chip had mentioned very clearly from the book of James, it's crystal clear that God wants you to do something with what he's given you. It's a massively valuable gift. It is so valuable. Why would you have something of such great value buried? So there's there's a system, and this is the last thing that I want to really talk to you guys about. There's definitely two different things. There's faithful rewards and unfaithful penalties. But what does the master want for all of us? What did that master want for all of them? Did he deny someone talents? Nobody. Nobody was denied. Nobody. Everybody was given. He's not going to refuse any single one of us, but we have to stop refusing him. That's really what it boils down to. I want to be able to say on the day that I pass away that I have used everything that you gave me, Lord. And I want him to say, good and faithful servant. In conclusion, Jesus taught that we should live in preparation for the master's return. We should accept Jesus Christ as Savior. Recognize that all true faith is active faith, and put your faith into action. Know that your works can't save you, but Jesus has entrusted those who are saved with many things, and he expects you to use them and to grow them. And know this, that he will praise, commend, and reward you. We are promised of this. Your goal should be to live to finish well, not to get detoured, not to sidetrack. And if you're detoured or sidetracked today, it's time to start serving so he can say, well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of the Lord. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for all of our leaders here, our pastors, those who have committed on a leadership level within their family to lead their family in you. Lord, we thank you that they're putting their faith into action. Lord, help us each day to ask, Lord, how can I put my faith into a greater investment for you? How can I grow your kingdom? Lord, use me. Lord, do not let me be like the unfaithful servant, stagnant and buried, hidden away. Lord, help me to shine for you as something that has great value to you. Lord, let my value reflect your value, Lord. I pray this in Jesus Christ's mighty name. Amen. May Jesus' parable both convict and encourage you today to live with urgency, to act on his behalf. When Christ returns, will you be prepared? Will you be the good and faithful servant? You choose this day. God bless you.